Labor Day weekend, September 3rd, 2022, veteran investigative reporter Jeff Gehrman was found stabbed to death outside his Las Vegas home. Police say the suspect is a local politician named Robert Tellis.
Every murder is tragic, but the killing of a journalist is particularly troublesome.
So what led up to the murder of Jeff Gehrman, and if Tellis is the killer, what drove him to do something so heinous? My name is Jaewon, and I'm a reporter based in Houston, Texas. I previously worked in Las Vegas, where I covered this case extensively.
So her testimony was recorded today and will be shown to the jury.
Let's start by talking a bit about the backgrounds of both Jeff Gehrman and Robert Tellis. At the time of Gehrman's murder, Tellis was the county public administrator.
A few years ago, when I started my first term,
essentially, this person is a local elected official who decides where the estates of someone who passes away should go. Before Robert Tellis ran for office, he was actually a private probate lawyer and graduated from UNLV's Boyd Law School. He was actually endorsed by the previous longtime public administrator John Cahill, who was not seeking re-election. Tellis won the Democratic nomination and would go on to win the election in 2018. He began serving his term in 2019. But there was a lot of turmoil in his office, to say the least, and we'll get to that in just a minute, but now let's talk about Jeff Gehrman. Jeff Gehrman was born in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and he was a huge sports fan. And this man is what you call an old school reporter. He dug up things about the mobs, corrupt politicians, and cops. His career spanned for more than 4 decades, and he worked at the Las Vegas Sun before he worked for the Las Vegas Review-Journal at the time of his death. When I spoke to people who knew Jeff Gehrman, they all told me about his passion and love for journalism. You have to remember, he was 69 years old at the time of his death, but everyone who knew him tells me he didn't think about retirement. And if you take a look at his X account, to this day, his byline still reads, quote, "I love digging up stories." So Jeff Gehrman already had this reputation as a dogged reporter, and many of the workers at Robert Tellis's public administrator's office decided to confide in Gehrman. And when Gehrman got this story about the turmoil inside Robert Tellis's office, of course, he had to break it. This was Jeff Gehrman's first article about Robert Tellis, published on May 16th, 2022. The headline reads, quote, "County office in turmoil with secret video and claims of bullying hostility." Gehrman had interviewed many workers inside Tellis's office who alleged that Tellis was a bully and exerting favoritism. They also told him that Tellis was having a secret affair with another worker at the office, and they actually filmed a secret video of the two of them getting into the back of a car at a parking garage. By the way, Tellis was married to his second wife at the time, and they were raising 3 kids together. Gehrman, of course, had to get both sides of the story, and he did interview Tellis to get his side of the story. Well, Tellis put the blame back on the workers who confided in Gehrman and said they were exaggerating the extent of the relationship. One of the workers who confided in Jeff Gehrman was Rita Reed, who is the current public administrator in Las Vegas. And Rita Reed told Jeff Gehrman that she actually voted for Tellis in 2018, but things in the office got so hostile that she decided to run against him, and tensions flared even more. Just a few weeks later, Jeff Gehrman wrote a follow-up piece about the county taking matters into their own hands. In a rare move, the county decided to hire an outside consultant who was also a former coroner as a consultant for the public administrator's office. And mind you, Robert Tellis is running for re-election at the time all of this is unfolding, so it couldn't have been good optics. Fast forward to June, Jeff Gehrman wrote another follow-up article. This time, it was about Tellis losing his re-election bid. He not only lost his re-election bid, he lost it in the primary. Tellis had also written a somewhat angry, disgruntled letter about what Jeff Gehrman had written about him. It was called, quote, "Addressing the False Claims Against Me," and said the article was, quote, "intentionally gut-wrenching," and he called Jeff Gehrman's employer, the Las Vegas Review-Journal, a, quote, "right-wing paper." Tellis also took to Twitter to bash Gehrman, saying that the reporter was going through his trash can and he was being a bully. But eventually, Tellis did concede in the race. But Jeff German wasn't done with his reporting. But let's fast forward to September 3rd, 2022. Police say a man was found murdered outside his home, and that man was identified as Las Vegas Review-Journal reporter Jeff German. Police released pictures of this suspect, who they say was wearing a big straw hat, an orange vest, gray Nike shoes, and carrying a gray duffel bag. This is video police also released of the suspect walking in Jeff German's neighborhood. And pay very close attention to this walk because it's gonna come up again in trial. And they also released pictures of the suspect's car, a maroon Yukon Denali. And the following day, police arrested Robert Tellis. Then Sheriff and now Governor Joe Lombardo made the announcement.
I'm here to brief you on the latest details in the homicide of Review journalist, investigative reporter Jeff German. Because of the relentless follow-up of our detectives, and with your help, I'm here to announce the arrest of 45-year-old Robert Tellis.
The evidence detectives collected was pretty incredible. Police served a search warrant at Tellis's house, and they found pieces of a cut-up straw hat, pieces of a cut-up gray Nike shoe, and a gray duffel bag, all matching the suspect's description. And that maroon Yukon Denali, well, that same exact make and model was registered to Tellis's wife. But possibly the most clear and convincing evidence was the DNA.
We received positive DNA results that showed Robert Tellis's DNA at the crime scene.
Police say that DNA found under Jeff German's fingernails matched that of Robert Tellis. Tellis's arrest was, well, dramatic. He was seen taken out of a stretcher because police say he was hurting himself. And the very publication that Jeff German had worked for found out that Tellis had been arrested back in 2020 for domestic battery charges.
I am just being approached, and but you guys want to take me down because I'm a public official.
That charge was ultimately dismissed in 2021. Now back to Tellis's arrest for Jeff German's murder. He was indicted just 6 weeks after his arrest by a Clark County grand jury. His trial began in August of 2024, and from the time he was indicted to the time his trial began, there was a lot of drama. Tellis was very open to talking to the media from the jailhouse, and his biggest claim was that the police were framing him.
You believe there was police misconduct?
Through and through. And again, the pleading that we're going to file tomorrow will show through and through that illegal records were obtained.
He also hired and fired at least 4 different lawyers, and at one point, he was representing himself in a murder case.
Choose to represent yourself, and you don't get a result that you like. You understand, you can't stay on appeal. I was bad at representing myself.
The judge on this case clearly wasn't having it.
I don't think anyone ever does a good job representing themselves. We have made it pretty clear we're not playing games here.
I spoke with Tellis several times from the jailhouse as well, and I remember I spoke to him shortly after that spat between him and Judge Michelle Levitt, and I asked him why he was trying to remove the judge from his case.
Being questioned on whether, I knew what I was doing and those other things, it was really kind of excessive.
So his back and forth with the judge and his claims about the police department continue until January 2024, he decides to hire a lawyer. And not just any lawyer, a very prominent criminal defense attorney in Las Vegas, Robert Draskovich.
These cuts that were in the shirt that Mr. German was wearing were never analyzed.
So Robert Draskovich is one of those attorneys who's known to get people out of the death penalty, and he has experience in federal trials as well. So shortly after Tellis retained Draskovich, I sat down with his new attorney, and there was a clear defense strategy.
We want to see, number one, was there any reconnaissance on his part conducted?
There had been evidence that Metro Police was investigating Robert Tellis at the time of Jeff German's murder in connection to some house-flipping bribery scheme at the public administrator's office. So the defense's argument was that there was no way that Tellis could be the murderer if Metro was investigating him and had surveillance on him during the time of Jeff German's murder. Tellis said he was ready to go to trial, and it was set for March of 2024, but there were a number of reasons why it got delayed. A big reason was, well, remember, Jeff German was a reporter. There was some debate on how to search the slain journalist's devices. So there was evidence on Jeff German's devices that could have been exculpatory, which means it could help Tellis's case. And prosecutors wanted the police to go through German's devices and then hand over all of the evidence over to prosecutors and the defense. But attorneys for German's former employer, the Las Vegas Review-Journal, or the RJ, said, no way, Jose. And even though Judge Levitt sided with the prosecution, the attorneys for RJ decided to take this to the Nevada Supreme Court. They said because Jeff German is a reporter, his devices should be searched by a third party because his confidential sources could be leaked. And the Nevada Supreme Court, well, they sided with the newspaper. This was really important because this was really the first case that showed that even when a reporter dies, they still have journalistic privilege. And everyone who knew Jeff German knew that he would do anything to protect his sources. And at the end, it was actually RJ, the newspaper, that went through all of the evidence and decided to hand them over to both the defense and prosecution. The trial finally started with jury selection on August 12th, 2024. A panel of about 60 potential jurors showed up today, and they were asked questions so that the judge can determine if they can be fair and impartial for this case because it is such a high-profile case. Before I get into the trial, I just want to say that I could probably do a whole video deep diving into the trial itself, but I'm going to try to give the Cliff Notes version in this video. So there are so many memorable moments in this trial, but what still sticks out to me are the testimonies of Holly and Roy Bailey. They were the first two witnesses for the prosecution.
I ran out there to my husband and he was on the phone with 911. I knew he was in shock and I went into shock.
Walked about another 6 feet or so and saw I saw Jeff.
The Baileys are Jeff German's neighbors, and they were the ones who discovered his body for the first time. Jeff German was living alone at the time of his murder, and his neighbors noticed that his garage door was open for a long period of time. That raised an alarm. Another notable witness for the prosecution was Roberta Lee Kennett, who was a worker at Robert Tellis's office. But she's not just any worker. She's the one that was suspected of having an affair with Robert Tellis. The prosecution didn't ask her about her affair with Tellis, but she was asked about how she found out about Jeff German's murder.
So does that look like a readable version of the screenshot of what you saw on social media about Mr. German's death? Sure. And then? Yeah, that's what I thought I sent, yes. Okay. So those were sent to Mr. Tellis? Correct. You ask another question about his tires? Right, you don't have special rims, do you? And then you, this is page 41, tell him I am, and then... Very worried. And you then say, what? I say, it's not you, but they could try to use the vehicle as a way to suspect you.
Another witness was the medical examiner who presented some pictures of the stab wounds found on Jeff German's body during his autopsy. And obviously, these pictures will be graphic, but Robert Tellis was noticeably making a lot of faces inside the courtroom. All of us reporters noticed it. I'm sure the jurors noticed it too. Now remember, I told you about Tellis's defense strategy. Well, the prosecution knows this going into trial. So they brought the detectives who were surveilling Tellis and asked them what it was about.
During September of 2022, did you conduct surveillance on behalf of, or at the request of, I should say, Detective Derek Jaffe? Yes. And was one of the days that you conducted surveillance September the 1st of 2022? Yes. Do you remember if that location was like a neighborhood on a street called Spanish Steps?
Yes.
Who was the target? Who were you watching on that day?
Robert Tellus.
So here's the thing. The detectives say that they were surveilling him every few days, so it's not like they had a close eye on him 24/7. And they did say that the investigation was related to a house-flipping bribery scheme. And on the day of Jeff German's murder, the detectives say Tellus wasn't on their watch. However, on September 6, 2022, just 3 days after Jeff German's body was found, Robert Tellus was seen washing his wife's maroon Yukon Denali. A forensic lab supervisor also testified that in June of 2022, Robert Tellus had searched the name Jeff German 25 times on his phone.
What's this category that says value? Why is that? What does that mean?
That's the value that was typed in.
Okay, and then when we look at sources, again, is this kind of like the pathway?
Yes.
There were also 132 Google Map images of Jeff German's home in his phone as well. The prosecution also brought on the public information officer from Clark County onto the stand. Now remember I told you Jeff German was not finished digging even after Robert Tellus lost his re-election bid. Well, the public information officer testified that Jeff German had requested Teams messages between Robert Tellus and Roberta Lee Kennett just weeks before he was killed.
And it appears that Mr. German says this is an open records request for all emails between Public Administrator Robert Tellus and Estate Coordinator Roberta Lee Kennett from January 1st of 22 to the date that the request is fulfilled. Is that accurate?
Yes.
So the prosecution not only laid out emotional testimony, but a trail of facts from phone records to physical evidence and DNA evidence. And now it was the defense's turn. Now, I thought the defense's strongest witnesses were a cell phone analyst who said that Robert Tellus's phone pinged to his home on the day of Jeff German's murder, and also a Planet Fitness manager who said Robert Tellus checked in at the gym around the same time that Jeff German was murdered.
12:09 p.m. Yes, I see it.
Who checked in?
That is going to be Robert R. Tellus.
It is unclear whether he checked in person or on the app on his phone. But really, the star of all the witnesses in the defense is Robert Tellus himself. Throughout the entire trial, all of us reporters were wondering, is he going to testify on the stand? And turns out he definitely is.
This thing has been kind of a nightmare, frankly. Again, I want to thank you for being here. And right now, I want to say unequivocally, I'm innocent. I didn't kill Mr. German.
Now, I've spoken to a lot of criminal defense attorneys about this. No attorneys ever want their clients to testify on the stand unless it's a self-defense case. And here's why. Once you're on the stand, you're opening yourself up to cross-examination and you can't plead the fifth anymore. It was clear as day to anyone that Robert Tellus wanted to go on the stand and he insisted on it.
I did not cut up a shoe and hide it under my couch.
Robert Tellus decided to do what's called a narrative testimony, so his attorney wasn't asking him questions and guiding him while he was on the stand. Tellus appeared really jittery. He was mumbling a lot for a very long time. Towards the middle of his hours-long testimony, I was looking at the expression of the jurors and they were clearly bored and confused. I mean, he went on for probably a total of 2 hours. I remember he started his testimony at the end of day 1, didn't even finish it, and started it up again on day 2. Now, once Robert Tellus was finished with his narrative testimony on the stand, prosecutor Chris Hamner began cross-examination. And this was when there were fireworks inside the courtroom.
The visor is down, just like the killer's Yukon, correct?
Anyone could have moved it at any point.
So the answer to my question is yes. The visor is down, just like the killer's car.
You're talking about, obviously at this point in time.
Your visor is down in your Yukon, just like the killer's Yukon, correct?
Hamner asked Tellus why, if he was being framed, Was the murder weapon not found in his home, which would have been the most compelling evidence?
The most significant piece of evidence, the murder weapon, is not in your house, despite your theory you've been framed.
That's correct, sir.
During cross-examination, Tellis also admitted to having an affair with Roberta Lee Kennett.
We both regret the mistake, but we had a romantic affair with each other.
And said Jeff German's articles probably did cost him his re-election bid.
Fair to say, in your opinion, if Jeff German hadn't written these articles, you probably end up winning that primary.
Probably yes.
But he said for him that wasn't enough to make him go angry and kill Jeff German. He said he was ready to go back to private law. But the moment that everyone in the courtroom gasped was when Hamner showed a picture of a text message from Tellis's wife on her Apple Watch that read, quote, "Where are you?"
Please read to this jury, what does it say underneath that photograph?
It says, "Where are you?"
Where are you? You told us you were at home.
I did not. I said, actually, when I got the messages, I was still on my walk.
Yes or no? That message isn't on your phone.
Why it isn't, I wouldn't know, because apparently it's
ask you why.
And that message was sent around the time Jeff German was killed. And that message wasn't found on Tellis's phone. It was clear that Robert Tellis deciding to testify on the stand was probably not the best idea. So closing arguments were just around the corner after 2 weeks of trial. Prosecutor Pamela Weckerly, when she was presenting the closing arguments, she really just re-emphasized all of the evidence the jury had seen, from the DNA evidence, the forensic evidence, the physical evidence. They really had a stack of evidence against Robert Tellis. Now, during the closing arguments for the defense, I have to give this to Robert Draskovic. He really threw a curveball.
What's that look like on the top of the head? I submit to you, that looks like hair. We've seen Mr. Tellis. He gave testimony from the witness stand. Does that profile match the profile in that vehicle? I mean, it's no secret. The man's bald.
It was this picture that made everyone shocked. It was a screen grab from a surveillance video of the maroon Yukon Denali and the man driving that Denali. That man inside the car appeared to have hair in the picture. Robert Tellis is obviously bald. So was this man Tellis with a wig on? Was it someone else? It definitely had to have the jury questioning because they deliberated for 12 hours, but they finally came to a verdict.
Robert Tellis, defendant, case number C-368935, department number 12, verdict. We, the jury in the above entitled case, find the defendant, Robert Tellis, as follows. Murder with use of a deadly weapon, victim 60 years of age or older. Guilty of first-degree murder with use of a deadly weapon, victim 60 years of age or older. Special verdict. The jury unanimously finds the murder willful, deliberate, and premeditated. The jury unanimously finds the murder was committed by means of lying in wait. The jury unanimously finds the murder was committed by means of elder abuse.
Wow, I still remember all the reactions from inside the courtroom, from the workers at the public administrator's office who trusted Jeff German and who had gone to every single hearing for Robert Tellis wearing red so that they stick out. So right after the verdict was read, the jury was ready to hear testimony for the penalty phase. And during this time, we heard from Jeff German's family for the first time. It was so clear how much they loved Jeff.
I wouldn't want anybody to go through this. It was devastating to the family. It really was. We loved him.
And you have to remember, Jeff German went after so many people during his life as a journalist. And his family talked about how ironic it was that his killer was not someone in the mobs or a corrupt casino CEO, but a low-level elected politician.
He wrote about wrongdoings by mobsters, gaming officials, politicians, corporations, basically anyone who was corrupt. And I don't think they could hide from him.
The jury also heard from Tellis's wife, his ex-wife, and his mother, who were essentially character witnesses saying he's a good dad and a good son, and they hope the jury will give him mercy so that he could be with his kids someday.
So please, I accept the verdict. And if you could please give my son a chance of parole.
The jury had three options. It was either the worst punishment, which is life without the possibility of parole, or life with the possibility of parole after 20 years, or the least severe punishment, 50 years in prison with parole eligibility after 20 years. The jury decided to meet in the middle, and they gave him life with the possibility of parole after 20 years. And after the trial was over, I had the chance to interview the jury foreperson, and it was really interesting to see how the jury came to the verdict. As I had anticipated, Tellis' own testimony was what ruined him.
It wasn't really up until his narrative, that's when we started, as the jury started noticing a lot of holes.
Do you think that if he didn't get up on the stand, there could have been a possibility of a hung jury?
I feel like it would have been a lot more likely.
And of course, I asked the jury foreperson about the picture that Draskowicz presented during closing arguments.
Did have that theory where, well, if you're in the vehicle, you can't be wearing the hat, you're still gonna wanna hide your head. Maybe it was a hood, because the way the hair just kind of peeked out at the front didn't look like a normal hairline.
So the foreperson told me there were several holdouts, and I asked them, what was it that got everyone together on the same page? And to my surprise, it wasn't the DNA, it wasn't the physical evidence, it wasn't even the emotional testimony. It was Tellis' walk.
And it was this one that sealed the deal for him.
That was a good final side-by-side that I've been wanting to see.
Tellis was officially sentenced about a month after he was convicted. The judge added the maximum enhancement penalty on his sentence, so an additional 8 years before parole eligibility. Now, this case to me was more than about murder. It was about the First Amendment, about freedom of speech and press. Journalism is constantly under attack, and it's not a crime. Our government, local, state, federal officials need to continue being held accountable on both sides of the aisle. Jeff German's death was a painful reminder that truth-telling can come with some danger. But his legacy reminds us of why we do our job, to hold the powerful accountable even when it's uncomfortable. In the end, Robert Tellis may have tried to silence the man who exposed him, but Jeff German's voice only grew louder. Thanks for watching. I'm Jaewon Jung.